Welcome back to the 6th episode of the Metamorphosis podcast with Noe and
Rowan.
Woo! Intro, so I'm going to read this because a very, very special guest on.
So sweet.
Rowan is an energetic embodiment expert who empowers authentic self-expression through a unique fusion of human design, energetics, and self-care practices. Her journey from chaos to self-love fuels her passion for guiding transformative self-discovery and alignment, helping people allow their energy to flow with less resistance and reach their full potential.
Thank you.
We have a lot to dive in on.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So
Can't wait.
maybe we start with just like a bit of a background because we're all spiritual.
Yes.
That's like
Number
why
one.
we're even here in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I feel like that's like how our paths probably even crossed.
I was just gonna say, yeah.
Crossed.
Yeah, we're all spiritual. Every time we hang out, that's a huge part of what we talk about. But as we said, so the Metamorphosis podcast is all about being yourself.
Yeah.
Morphing into the real you. You, I feel like, of anyone we know, I feel like, I think I tell you this every time, you just glow.
Yeah.
You
so
literally
sweet.
glow everywhere you go. Like,
You
you know,
embody authenticity. Too.
Authenticity.
That's
Very,
the best
like-
compliment.
Yeah.
It does really feel like from the very beginning of us all meeting, it felt like energetic alignment.
It did.
And that's
100%.
what I teach my clients. That's what I really try to embody is like recognizing self-awareness and being able to connect with people who really nourish you rather than, suck you dry.
Yeah. You feel
Yeah.
energized.
Yeah.
And then we always feel energized when we're with you and
100%.
after.
I feel the same
Always,
exact same
yeah.
way.
We're going to dive into a lot today. We're
Yes,
going to dive
I'm
into our
excited.
human design, which honestly, because I think she got her human design with you before, I'm not too familiar with it, so we want to dive
Yeah,
into
for
all
my
that.
31st birthday
Yeah.
last year, beautiful Rowan gifted me a reading,
Aw.
and it was very, very transformative.
It's honestly my biggest joy to be able to teach people about their true authentic selves. And like I was saying, this is so aligned with everything that you guys embody and showing people. And I think it is so important to know that their human design is just another tool, right?
Yeah.
Like I think at the end of the day, what I love about human design is it really shows you that all the answers are within yourself.
I love that.
Trust yourself, get out of your head, ground down into your body. And we are all here to live out a purpose.
Yes.
We're all here to
Yes.
enjoy life.
It's going to be a good
Yeah.
conversation. Oh my god.
And so human design is just one of those things that it's just a tool to really let you see what is underneath the hood.
Yeah.
And for me especially, I love pairing human design, like the system, but with self-care and learning how to really not only know about yourself, but using self-care as a tool for deeper self-discovery
Love
and
that.
self-love. Because
Ah,
the more,
that's our message.
because honestly, like the more that I really believe that our beliefs, our subconscious beliefs that are that's a reflection of our physical world right
Yeah.
now. So the more love that you have for yourself, the higher self-esteem, and like I'm really on this journey of authentic self-expression, through these different modalities, through, stand-up and like now doing burlesque, and it's like just stepping outside my comfort zone. I always just learn so much about myself and build self-trust. And at the end of the day, self-trust is what really just
Drives it.
Yeah.
Drives it.
We could dive into every single word you just said.
What was standing out to me from what you said is basically like it just what you do helps unlock that for the human, like the person, like you have the potential within you, and that's a tool that just unlocks it and like makes it available to the person to like improve their life. I love that.
100%. It's always been there.
It's there.
It's like self-esteem and self-confidence, right?
Yeah.
Like it's there. The energy's there. It's just like you need to like unlock it and like
open the
have
door.
access to it.
Yeah.
So, let's dive in because
Okay.
I feel like we might have talked about this, but correct me if I'm wrong. Like, were you always spiritual, or was there a time that you found spirituality?
I would say I feel like to a degree, like I grew up in a Muslim household, but my parents were never really religious.
Okay.
But they were. My mom, like I to this day still always have conversations with her about spirituality, but like for me, I'll just replace the word the universe with God. And she'll
That's like what I was
and she'll just be like, yeah, like, you know, and we're always having these spiritual conversations, but it's like we're just using maybe different framework. And for me, like, I'm an Aries, and also my energy type in human design, I don't really like rules that much. So like, you know,
Aries is fire, right?
yeah.
We got
three fires right here.
Fire. So yeah, like for me, it's more about the broad. I think, you know, growing up, Islam taught me so much about spirituality as a whole.
Absolutely.
And how to treat people, and, you know, taking all that, just like the fine rules. I'm like, okay, like I get the gist.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you say that, because we were raised half Muslim, half Catholic, and again, our parents didn't really like push that too much on us, but then we found spirituality. It's funny you say you have those conversations with your mom. Have you met her mom?
No, I don't think I have. No.
You need to meet her.
Well, you want the watch party.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we have the same conversations, and literally just use God synonymously with the universe. So she'll say God, we'll say the universe. But so in terms of, because what we talk about, everything you just said, human design, energy, how you feel, unlocking all of that. How did you find that?
You know, something that really resonates with me is like, you know, this societal conditioning and not listening to yourself of what you want. And that is definitely what I really resonate with your stories, because it's like trying to pretend to be somebody that you're not. And for me, it was a little bit different. It was like, I went to university. I did that because that's what I was meant to do. And like after university, I lived abroad for a bit. I lived in Bangkok for a little bit, and then I
didn't know that.
Yeah, I lived in Bangkok, and it was fun. But it was in 2014, so it was when there was like a coup. So after 8 months of living there, like there was like curfews and everything, and in my grade 12, like ISU, like your big project, I did a big project on Dubai. So I was like, you know what, I'm pretty close. Like, I'll just go to Dubai. And I always had this vision of like Dubai being like the best of both worlds. It's like the Western meets the like Middle Eastern. You know, like it'll be great. Anyways, like long story short, I ended up, you know, finding a job and meeting a partner and like living there with him in
Dubai. Oh, okay, so you went.
Yeah, so I was living there for like almost 2 years.
From Thailand.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I just randomly went there.
God.
I gave myself a month. I was like, hey, if I find a job, I'll stay. If not, I'll just go back to Canada, because it was like January. Like I'm not rushing to come back.
Oh, absolutely not. But before that, though, were you born here?
I was born in Kitchener.
You're born in Kitchener. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh my God, love it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So born and raised, but so when I was in Dubai, I literally was having, and this is where the whole concept of energy and your physical body, how they kind of come together.
Absolutely.
And for me, for a long time, I like shoved down what my intuition is telling me for a long, and I'm like, just go with the flow. Like, this is what makes sense, right?
What was your intuition telling you at the time?
That I wanted to leave, and like, you
happy
know,
there.
I wasn't happy, and to the point I was just keep on like shoving it down, because I lived by the beach and I had this partner that was like everything on my list, and but we just were not a good match. And I literally was waking up every day feeling like there was like a pound on my chest, and
I know that feeling.
I know that feeling too.
And it's like it's the feeling of not listening to yourself, and of not living authentically,
not being happy.
Well, like also like when your mind and you start having these feelings, if you don't listen to them, what I've learned too is it just gets stronger and stronger and stronger, and
doesn't go away.
It's a beautiful thing. Like your body is literally guiding you and telling you 100%. Get out. And if you don't, it will get that's our inner compass, right? And it's so great that we have that. But oftentimes, especially the conditioning and in human design, that's what we really dive into, is like the conditioning. When we're around each other, we influence each other, you know, and even if it's on an energetic level. So that conditioning, it could be really great. You could be really expanded when you're surrounded by people who really lift you up and who really, you know, show you a really cool way of living. Or it could be the opposite and be like, this is the way, the rigid structures. And well, it's people that are following their compass themselves versus people that aren't. And if you're surrounded by people that aren't, which you know, our parents probably do the best they can, but
100%.
perhaps they are not there yet.
That's exactly it. It's like our parents, how much they influence us, because most of our lives, like from when you are inside, you know, your mom's
literally
belly,
in her body.
To when you're like, I guess you could say, you know, in your 20s is probably when your brain stops developing. And so, you know, up until that point, we're so malleable. We're so
like ready to be conditioned.
And so even to this day, like I've done so much work on myself, done so much shadow work and really embracing the parts of my authentic self. But I still, you know, find little parts that I'm like, oh my God, that's my dad.
Oh my gosh.
That's my dad.
We both feel the same thing. So many times it's like, no matter how hard you try it, it's not even like we're not trying to be in some parts like our parents, but there's some parts that you're just like, they'll be there and you'll discover it or someone else will.
It's so funny. Like I literally get my dad's voice in my head.
Oh my God.
And it's always like, my dad is very critical. You know, I'm Palestinian. My dad was born and raised in violence and trauma, and like, you know, that intergenerational trauma, it does really come down. And you know,
it's still in your DNA sort of.
It definitely has so much in my DNA. And you know, it's interesting because even this past eclipse, like it was just, you know, a week ago, but my dad was stuck in Palestine. Like he was there for 3 months, and with this latest you know, war or cycle of violence, I guess you could say, it really brought up so much. And it really allowed me to see, I mean, you can intellectualize things, but I think it's a totally different experience to actually process it in your body and to feel through it. And you know, I have a lot of compassion for my dad, but I think it showed me a whole new level of compassion for the state of, you know, where he grew up and what, you know, that's why he grew up, and the violence, and it's just it's a whole other,
like what you're saying too is like also like what we're sort of almost like in a way like recovering from our childhood of being with around our parents, but in a Western society versus thinking about what they went through and how much it affected us just in that bubble. But like theirs was like 10 times more
it's totally it's interesting.
Gives you more empathy to be more understanding. Like we're trying to learn that too.
But it is like, you know, and I say that because I don't want to say that I blame my dad for anything, but he is a very harsh critic, right? And it's like my whole life, and this probably,
no matter what, that's going to be passed on.
And it's like it probably is something that I'm still working through as I like manifest partnership, and you know what I'm going through, like, you know, trying to find that partner. I really look at like things that my dad, you know, the daddy wound.
But the amazing thing about it is that you have so much awareness of it that it is something you're working on, on actively healing, and that wound will not continue to be passed down. You're healing it for the next generation when you have kids, or if you want kids or not. But regardless, even any person you touch, you're not passing that pain on.
So I mean, my brother, like we're very close, and you know, we grew up in the same house, but obviously I'm the oldest, he's the youngest, so very different perspectives, especially him being a boy and me being a girl.
Absolutely.
But yeah, like it's just, we always say that, like, you know, we have the ability and the tools and the resources and the therapy to do it, and like, you know, they could do that, but it's also a lot harder. It's hard to change when you're in your 30s.
That's what I was gonna say. It's like you said, those formative years.
It's almost
and
like
then
the window is almost closing now. We're like trying to get into it, but at a certain point, like
because the further you get away from that window, it's like then it just gets harder and harder to reverse the. Oh my gosh.
And the thing is, like, my dad would probably kill me that I'm saying this, but I did mushrooms with my dad.
No way.
Talk about this.
And so that really opened his mind, because mushrooms, like, you get to see all the trauma.
We get to do that. We all need to.
Yeah.
No, but with ours,
You gotta let us know how you got him open to do that.
And honestly, sometimes my dad really surprised. He's a Sagittarius. So
we love that. We love our Sag.
But you guys probably bond on that too.
Yeah.
Our dad's a Sagittarius too, actually.
Our dad is.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we're the three of us.
Open to exploring.
Actually, probably.
He actually would.
I feel like more than our mom.
You should try it. But it was interesting because, like, going through that, experience, it really did change him for a little bit, but then you know,
his own processing probably took over,
and then
not processing, his own internal processes, like the way he is probably just like
you just revert back
because
our body, like our brains don't, I think change is the most
it's like the habitual thing. It's like you can change for a bit, but then you just go back into
just like the way you are and the way that you are like being is about repetition and like just like what's the word, like practicing something.
Routine.
And that's how you get good.
Yeah.
And if you're not gonna practice, you're not gonna continue to practice those ways of thinking.
100%.
It happened for a bit, but he goes back.
But
it's
you
not
go back to what is comfortable.
Yeah.
What is your trauma response, right? And it's really
and until you heal it, you're gonna go back to that every time.
But I want to dive deep into that. We had planned things, but you know what? Honestly, I feel like you're going to be a recurring guest. Like everything you say, I'm like, I want to dive into that. I want to dive into that. So we're going to have multiple episodes. We have things planned, but let's just see where it naturally takes us because I want to hear about that. Like, as
we want to hear about that, but
share.
also we're still on a tangent from Rowan's journey.
It's going to be all over the place. But about that, like, as much as you're willing to share, because like you said, it did change him for a bit, and even like maybe what you experienced or what he experienced on that, because that's a pretty unique experience to like do shrooms, to do shrooms in general for spirit, like, and to have a spiritual experience, but to do it with your parent.
Yeah. Well, okay. Yeah. This kind of all relates like in my personal journey because like when I was living in Dubai, like, you know, for me, like I had a traumatic event that happened that ultimately, like, I just decided that I couldn't really live in a place where I just didn't feel safe, you know? And like I was sexually assaulted, and in Dubai as a woman you can literally go to jail. So I didn't tell anybody about it because it's like sex before marriage, and you know, this was a while ago, so I don't know, I haven't lived there, I haven't gone back, so I don't know what the thank you, but that was something that I didn't tell a single soul about. So also those panic attacks that were coming, it was like there was something inside of me that I was just not even verbally saying. I wasn't even speaking to myself because I literally looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, that didn't happen. I saw my reflection. I'm like, just gonna pretend like that didn't happen. And it wasn't until, so I decided to move. I just knew that I had to go back home to Canada and like, I always knew that I wanted to start my own business, and I just knew that this was a journey that I needed to embark on. And so I
just got goosebumps and went full circle where you are. But
spoiler alert.
Sorry, but like I just got goosebumps.
Like
you did it.
Yeah.
You did it.
Oh, thanks. You're so sweet.
We'll get there.
Yeah, but I mean, so
what's the timeline now? So you were in Dubai for how long?
I was in Dubai for like a year and a half.
A year and a half. Wow.
Yeah, a year maybe. Okay. Yeah, about a year.
What age were you at this point?
So this was I was like 26.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
so late 20s.
Yeah, late 20s somewhere. So anyways, but I didn't even tell anybody. I didn't tell my partner. I didn't tell anything. So so anyways, I decided that I just need to go home. So I did, and really I just started to indulge in self-care. When I was in Bangkok, I studied meditation. So I really started to meditate every day. And, you know, for somebody who wasn't caring, I think that it, you know, if I'm only speaking about my own experience, but my self-worth just felt very damaged at that point. I felt like I didn't have control over my body. I didn't feel worthy of anything. And I just felt like, you know, so it was just an experience where my self-worth was really low, and doing self-care, and it seems so simple, but like things like, I was meditating every day. I was reading. I'm a big reader and a big nerd. And
we'll have to get some book recommendations.
I know. For everyone.
But you know, for me, it was really skincare that really helped me to learn how to take care of myself again, to feel worthy again. And it was like really interesting when you think back at the journey of, because I really got into face masks. And it's almost like the metaphor of that, like being able to take off the mask and put on the mask and like, you know, allowing that whole thing.
That is blowing my mind right now. Like, it's in the word, face mask.
Yeah. And it was like the mask that I was putting on, and like really trying, like, that I was okay and that this thing never happened to me. And so for me, I started being Palestinian. My grandma, she has a farm and she makes all of her beauty care products on her own. Like she uses in Palestine. Shout out to Palestine. Olives.
Oh yeah,
the best olives in the world.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
So she made them. So I was really inspired by her, and so I started, doing classes and learning formulation and started making my face masks. And actually, my business started off as like skincare brand.
No way.
I did face masks. Yeah, face masks and face oils and like things like that.
Based off of your grandma's recipes, like or
I did my own like recipes.
But like her kind of like
she was really the
influence.
inspiration behind it, but because she did mostly like olive based soaps and things like that. But so after that I started that journey of like making the products and caring for myself on that deeper level. And it, the whole term of like self-care, and people say that it's just like people diminish it or make it like
it's some bougie
like,
thing,
throw it
around,
but for me it was like using these like skincare and these things that you can really do. It's just like a bridge to deeper self-care. To getting
another tool
of like getting into the nitty-gritty. And like for me, self-care is such a deep, like big toolbox of like learning how to really get into the deep levels of myself and understand myself and learn how to nourish my energy on that deeper level.
So it's almost like you started like a little bit like on the surface,
and went
and
deeper.
Then slowly started getting deeper and deeper and deeper.
And that's the journey, right? It's like you don't have to jump off a bridge every
start
time.
Somewhere.
You gotta just start somewhere. And that leads me to my first book recommendation, Atomic Habits by James Clear.
That sounds familiar.
It's a very
Atomic
popular
Habits.
book.
Okay.
It's a good one, but it's all about just
we'll put it on the screen.
Small little steps. And it really just helps you realize that you don't have to
attack the whole thing at once. Because like we are very complex beings. Like, it's almost could be overwhelming to be like, okay, like I need to start self-care, but just start somewhere. Start like somewhere small.
Well, so looping back to the mushrooms, because like
my girl loves her mushrooms.
I love mushrooms.
I love mushrooms too.
I haven't really tried. I've microdosed, but I'm fascinated by them because to loop it all back, it's like everyone has, I think, their own spiritual journey. For you, it was the face masks, and maybe that was the tip of the iceberg. But like the huge thing I think that shifted for us is like realizing all the answers come within. And I think I said this to a friend, but like knowledge, I think. You get outwards, like you can learn knowledge from like books and outside things, but like wisdom, like that comes from within, and you have to go inwards. And so I think there's no better way to go inwards than meditation or even mushrooms.
Well, it's really funny. So in 2018, so I moved back here 2017. It was 2018, and I did the very first like spiritual amount of mushrooms with my friends. And
what is that? What that?
So it's like 4 grams, I think.
I'm too scared to even get to.
I think it's 4 grams. And I was with my friend. When I was with my friends, I was totally fine. Okay. But then my friend started to like freak out, and she's like, "I need to go take a nap," right? And I was like, "Okay." Like I was fine.
Indoors? Were you guys indoors?
We were outdoors.
Okay.
We were outdoors. But then I was like, "Okay, I'm just gonna go meet my friend," because we were here in Toronto, and it's so funny because every time I walk down Dundas Street, I always think of this. But I went outside. And I was like walking down the street, and all of a sudden I had an out-of-body experience. And I could literally see, it was like I could see this big giant ball that was inside of me. And I was touching every time I would touch a certain part of this ball. Because on mushrooms, you're seeing all the visuals, right?
Oh my God.
And I would touch a part of the ball, and it was every lie that I tell myself to be okay.
I just got goosebumps.
Was nuts. And of course it was like, the sexual assault, like this happened to you, and you don't lie. They're lying. You're just lying to yourself about it. And I started crying down Dundas Street. Everybody thought I was just like this one like crazy.
It doesn't even matter.
But it was like such a
healing experience.
It was such a healing experience for me.
You're probably tapping into things that you didn't know. Well, probably day to day was even there.
It was all subconscious, right? It was like consciously, I was just like, oh, everything's fine.
Yeah.
Everything's good. Like, And then,
that is it.
so it is such a tool. And that's what it was even for my dad's experience.
Yeah, so
it was like taking away, I think my dad is very jaded, right?
Okay.
Like
He's seen some shit.
He's seen some shit, and he's always feels like, I think, you know, he's always trying his best, and it's just like he's never getting ahead. It's always, you know, and you could really
trying
feel
to like
that.
catch up versus like
my dad doesn't allow himself to feel joy. He doesn't give himself.
I feel like that's a very common thing in the Arab culture.
Yeah.
Like I mean, I think our dad's actually good at that, but I know like generally it's tough to like.
I think it's an immigrant thing.
Or maybe
too.
that. Sorry,
because it's like you come here. It's like you gotta work hard to prove that you're worthy of being here.
Okay, so you're saying your dad is a bit jaded. So did this help him?
Yeah. So that was one of the things that came about like right away, instant, because you know on mushrooms you get giggly and you laugh, and like at my parents' place they have this like sparkly clock, and my dad was just like, oh, like he was like a kid. He was like, oh my god, that's the sparkliest clock I've ever seen.
That is hilarious.
He's like a child again. And
how much did he do?
He only did like 1 gram.
1 gram.
It was his first time ever though. So
how
I
did
was
this come about? Like how did you get him
well,
to?
because I've had my experiences, and I was just like, I a lot of my own healing was really recognizing my dad's trauma. Like another good book to read is How to Recover from Emotionally Immature Parents. Because if you really look, like at least for me, and again, me and my brother have these theories about our parents, because when they're angry, when they're, you know, when you trigger them, they both go to like a very specific like era in your life. So my mom, she's like she goes into her like a teenager. She'll like shut you out. She won't talk to you.
Oh, interesting.
And it's interesting because my grandfather passed away when she was 16. So that was very traumatic, especially, you know, my mom's family, they were in Syria, like she's Palestinian, but they moved to Syria obviously in 1948. Like my grandma literally walked there. And so, you know, and then when the head of the household like passes away, it's such a like, where's the income gonna come from? And that was just such a family of 8 people. Like, what are you gonna do? So that was very traumatic for my mom. So we could see how that is her trauma response. But my dad literally becomes a toddler. Like he's just a child. Like he'll have an outburst and just be like
screaming and throwing and whatever. So your dad told a sparkly clock.
Yes. So my dad's experience, but like he did end up going he ended up going into like his childhood and like talking about things, and he did have a really big like release. And I think it is important to, you know, allow those emotions, and exactly that's what mushrooms does, is it allows you the opportunity to really tap into any energetic blocks that you have. What are you hanging on to? What are you holding on to that isn't serving you? And that's why I'm really into, you know, the full moon and really the energetics of astrology and things like that, because the full moon really is an opportunity, and the eclipse especially that we just had, it's an opportunity to release and you know, close a chapter in your life, because we only have so much space. Like, what do you need to let go of in order to fill it in with something that's more connected to your authentic self and more powerful? So we have that opportunity every single month. Like, it's such
oh my god, that's such an area we could dive into more.
That's what I'm like.
So many questions. But wait, I want to go back to, you're walking on the street in Dundas Street and you're poking the ball of energy. So what happened after that?
Honestly, I just literally could not stop crying, and it was like again, it was like all these emotions that I was hanging on to, because how many times do you realize like you have a little bit of tension in your body and you aren't even aware of it, right? And I do have a lot of like tension in my jaw and like, but during that episode, during that time, I just literally cried for maybe hours. Like, I was just walking down Dundas. Dundas is a long street. I'll tell you that.
Shout out Dundas.
Yeah, shout out to Dundas.
Oh, shit.
Oh my god.
But then after, I was like trying to journal, which is so funny because when you're on mushrooms, you can't really see anything. But like, it wasn't even about what I was writing on the page. It was just about letting it out.
Whatever needed to come out, allowing
just, like,
it.
Purging it.
Yeah.
I feel like it's like it probably is. Your your higher self tapped in, and it knows what you need to do. It knows how to process the information. Because like I feel like some people, maybe not on mushrooms, but I think DMT or other psychedelics say like you can't even put some of the things into human words because we don't even have the words to process some of the things you might see, feel, hear, experience.
100%.
So it's so interesting.
Yeah.
Even though you didn't know what you're writing, you just knew what you were writing.
Let it go.
Yeah.
Let it go.
So what was the outcome of that experience? Like how?
So really being able to see, like, you know, I think that really created this whole shift for me, and being able to really recognize, oh wait, there is something here that I need to, my purpose is something beyond what I'm doing right now. Like with my business of just making products and stuff, I'm like, there is something more here. And then that's literally when I discovered human design.
Okay, so we at that point it was the face masks.
Yeah.
And then you did the shrooms. You had that whole experience where you kind of went a little deeper, and then had the realization, let's build the business and maybe in a different direction. And it came. So how did the human design?
So I literally was listening to a podcast, and they were talking about human design. I'm like, okay, I'll check this out. And honestly, it's kind of vain, I guess, because I looked up my human design, and my energy type, I'm a manifester, and it's only 11% of the population. So I'm like, oh, I'm special.
Absolutely.
I'm like, I need to learn everything.
That makes so much sense. If I could choose any word, it would be a manifester.
11% are manifestors.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's quite interesting.
So what is human design?
So human design is a system that utilizes a lot of different, you know, modalities and just kind of fuses them all together. So it's astrology, there's the Hindu Brahmin chakra system.
Chakras,
And then there's also like the Kabbalah tree of life. There's something called the Chinese I Ching. It's like an ancient text, and like it's all hexagrams create different parts of your like personality.
Wow.
There's a lot of like metaphysics in there, and actually the person who created human design or downloaded it, because he got like this like download, and he was a manifestor. He's my energy type.
Wow.
And like that
makes so much sense.
Yeah, my energy type, I'm supposed to create something new.
Yeah.
And you know, walk a path that hasn't been done before, which, you know, it's difficult to do because my energy type, you guys know this already, but like I'm really scared of rejection, which is really hard to do when I'm supposed to initiate things.
Yeah.
So learning how to be comfortable with that, but that's like a part of the conditioning, right? Like feeling too much for people, feeling like, because I am different from most people, so it's like trying to fit in these spaces, but then it's like, no,
you're
like,
not meant to.
I'm not meant to.
Yeah.
And even though I've been on my human design journey for, you know, quite a few years now, I still find myself always going back. I actually always try to act like your energy type.
So okay, so what is that?
So you guys are both generators.
Both of us.
My whole family are generators. So my whole life I was trying to be like them. And what's really cool about your energy type is you guys have a great aura that's magnetic. You pull the right opportunities, the right people to you. People just like think you're great and want to
so we're both the same.
You're both
That's
the
so
same.
interesting.
Yeah.
I remember you telling me that about me, but I didn't know. Hers is the same. Wow.
But like, where's my aura? Because our aura does our work for us, right? Like, you guys need to attract the right opportunities towards you, because your whole thing is responding.
Wow.
Yeah.
That
Oh
resonates. That really does. Like, that's all we want to do.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
But that's your purpose, is to find the things that brings you joy and to share that with the world. Yeah. And that goes work, but also relationships, you know?
Yeah.
And oftentimes we always have these like, oh, but you know, I need to like, but like I need to work for something or like whatever. But it's like, no, that's not the way your energy works. But like, whereas for me, my aura is, I have a dense aura. So people are either really attracted to it or really repelled by it. And so that's why like our brains, the human brain is so interesting.
Oh my God.
When you want to find something, like the belief that for me, I'm like, oh, I'm not worthy. You
will see it everywhere.
I will just see, like, somebody could be, you know, fawning over me and being like, oh my God, I love you, you're great. I completely don't even see that. I don't even register it in my brain, but I'm so focused on the one person who's like, I don't like you.
Yeah.
You know?
It looks for ways to reconfirm whatever belief it is that you have.
100%.
There's a word for it? Confirmation bias or something like that.
And it's like, there's a quote, it's like, I used to think that the brain was the smartest part of, or like the most intelligent part of my body until I realized who was telling me that. And it's like, yeah, the brain is literally trying to just make things like as easy as possible, you know? So,
wow. No, a lot of what we try to do now is shut off our brains.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because we're a generator or maybe just in general, but like, stop, like your brain complicates things. It's like literally as simple as like we'll go to a restaurant and you see the menu, and for me, I go with my gut. The first thing I see that I want, and I'm like, I'm getting that one. But she's like logical, and she'll think through everything. She'll do the math, and she'll be like, oh, but that comes with this and that. And then she'll just get one, and then we'll get our food. She'll be like, I wish I got yours, girl.
You know what's so funny? Because this is in your human design. So your emotional authority, your authority. So in your human design chart, we all have an authority. It's how you're best, you can tap into that energy to make the best decisions for you. So for you, you're sacral. So you are literally like, you can trust your gut. You are like me. You're emotional. So you have to, like, for you to make a decision, and it's obviously difficult to do when it's like comes to what, like a quick decision, like something, you know, kind of trivial of like what you're gonna eat. Doesn't matter that much. But for us, we need to always, you can't trust when you are super like gung-ho about something or super repelled. You can't trust those.
Yeah.
You have to wait for clarity. And sometimes clarity takes time. You always have to sleep on decisions, wait for it. So I totally understand. I'm the same way.
Oh my God.
But you do have a lot of in your chart. You're intuitive. So you need to just like not overthink it. When it comes to those like silly kind of decisions. But when it comes to big things, you have to just wait. And you have to trust that the clarity will come if it's meant to be. If it's not meant to be, then you'll just let it go. But yeah, it's
holy shit. Wow. Because I feel that.
Yeah.
So let's dive more into human design then. Since we're here, we're gonna be all over the place.
But I want to finish up on the journey though.
I know, but that's what I'm like. Where do we go?
Because so at that point, so then you had your experience and then decided I want to go deeper into my business and change it a little bit to something different. So
that's really where I started to really dive deep into.
Oh, so you heard human design on the podcast.
Yeah. So I started to dive deep into human design, and the thing with human design is that it's not like something that you just learn and then you're done. It's really an experiment. So you take everything that is taught to you and you go out into the world and see how it really applies for you. So you can really, it's not about just intellect, like your brain is just one part of your energy. You need to decondition your whole body. You have 8 other centers, you know? So
centers like the chakras?
Yeah. Okay. So in human design, it's like the history of human design is like we evolved from like the 7 chakras and the chakra system into these 9 centers.
So there's more.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
I didn't know
there's a
this.
few other ones, but it's like back in the day when we were 7 centers, my energy type were like the leaders because we like initiated shit and stuff. And our not self theme, so when we're out of alignment, ours is anger. So think about all like the dictators and like, you know, all these people that like
that were leaders,
change. Because you know, good and evil is really about perspective, right? Like when you think about it from an energetic perspective, there is no such thing. It's just about using your power and your energy. It's up to us to use it for good, right? So essentially then there was, when we evolved into these 9 centered beings, that's when the newest energy type, the projector, was born. And it's funny because a lot of the people I surround myself with are actually projectors. My mentor is a projector. Some of my like closest friends are projectors, and it's because I feel like I'm, as a manifestor, I'm so chaotic. I need the guidance. Projectors guide.
I was gonna say, what is that?
They see energy. They lead through, you know, a little softer approach.
Versus manifested
more generators. So the manifestors, you are going after. The projector helps see the vision. Yeah. And then the generators
are you're like
really wait for it. What do we do?
No, but like you guys, that's what I love about human design is we all have a role to play, right?
Yeah.
So
you there's no one better than the other.
Exactly.
No.
And like for the generator, it's like you get to do what you love.
Wow.
And you're almost like the builder. You're building something. You're building something for us all to enjoy, you know? And you guys are doing that. You guys are embodying that. I love that so much.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And then there is a reflector. And the reflector is like somebody who kind of is almost like a thermometer. Like if we're all making a play, right? We're all like creating a production. Maybe the projector would be the director, right?
Okay.
The manifestor is the producer.
Okay.
Coming up with the idea and like all that stuff. And then the generator, probably the actors.
Okay.
Building the sets.
Right.
Like doing everything that actually creates like to make it happen.
Yeah.
And then the reflector is maybe like the critic.
Okay.
Being able to absorb, or the audience, like to be able to absorb it and to bring it back.
So it's just those four.
And then there's a hybrid of my energy type and your energy type, the manifesting generator. And
wow.
Then,
I like how that.
I want to be that.
I want that one. My mom is actually that, my brother.
Wow.
But it's essentially a generator, but they just tend to like see shortcuts. And,
Okay.
have a little more, they're a little more like quick.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
So there's 5.
5 energy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, I feel like I would love to have a part 2 where we dive more into like the energy types and talk more about art
human
charts
design.
and stuff.
Yeah.
But I want to go back to you learned about human design and then where are you at? How did that get to like part of your journey? Going back to your journey.
Yeah.
Like, how did that bring you to where you were at now?
Yes.
And like
it's so interesting because I feel like being in a family of generators, and my dad is very much like he like worked his whole life, and that is kind of the ultimate thing. So I kind of went into the corporate world, which is so funny to me because I was an assistant to an HR director, and it was like probably the worst experience of my life because
not surprised.
I'm just
no shade, but not
like
surprised.
I'm not tapped into my energy at all. Like I'm at the beck and call of like another person.
Yeah.
And
in an environment that you doesn't even speak to you anyway.
Yeah.
It's
It's like everything against your soul.
But it was interesting because there was like 70 people at this company and I got to see them every day, right? I got to see them make decisions. So I knew their chart, and for me that was the best learning. Like I really not only got to experience, reading it from a textbook and be like, oh yeah, like this is this part.
You watched it in real life.
Oh, so you did do all of their readings in the company?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
And I did I was really into tarot at that time, so I did get to develop these skills that I really loved doing.
Yeah.
But I just didn't. So after that I got to like leave, and that was very like aligned, and I'm shout out to them, like I wish you all the best.
Yeah.
And honestly I wish people the best that can do that 9-to-5 grind.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
I think the same thing too. I'm like, bless your heart.
Yeah. It's not for everybody, but it does, like there's
It is for a lot of people.
Yeah, it is for a lot.
Some people
like,
get like
security
and
like all that.
And it speaks to some people's passions.
Yeah.
Like, that could be
what
that's
you
something you're
love
passionate
doing.
about.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think the idea, just to pause, just to like kind of go down that, like there was some type of mentality that was kind of passed down, I think, for all of our, at least for our generation, that like that is the epitome, the ideal of success.
Yeah.
Like, everyone needs to sort of like aspire to this.
Yeah.
And that's the part that's like, no, it's a very beautiful path to take that some people will love to take, but not everyone has to take that path.
And I think that's what's so beautiful about this society today.
Yeah.
It's like realizing you don't have to go down the path that everybody's going down, And
we're questioning that.
It. And it's so great. Like even in terms of sexuality and being like,
everything.
Like,
Status quo.
Even the tattoos, how like in the workplace tattoos were like a no, and now it's like you see doctors with a sleeve, and it's like be yourself, you can do it in different forms.
I really do think that when you are yourself, you're tapped into your power, you're tapped into your energy. We all benefit from that.
Our message is literally be yourself, do what makes you happy, and spread love. But the be yourself, and it's funny because we're putting together a presentation that we're going to be doing. Be yourself is almost the equal to happiness.
The key to happiness.
The key to happiness and joy to yourself. Then to do what makes you happy, that's the key to success. Like no matter what success can mean different things to everyone, but if you just keep doing what makes you happy, it makes you happy for a reason. Because the same things don't make us all happy, and then spread love, like make the world a better place. And so it's so interesting you said that. Like being yourself, it's like because even to you, authenticity is such a important part.
And there is something about like when you're doing something that's connected to your purpose, it's so soul nourishing. It's like you are on the craziest drug in
Yeah.
the world.
Yeah. And you're not like the way that it felt with other aspects where you're just feels like you're like a hamster on a wheel. Like you're just getting exhausted from doing something that like versus being so energized.
It's exciting.
Yeah. And that's what it felt like when I was in Dubai. It's just like getting through the day. It's like there has to be more to life than this.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's taken me a really long time, but I feel like I am getting to the point where I'm like, this is what my energy is here to do. It's like to create that impact, to help other people. And that is also in my human design chart, is like to be of service. How can I make people's lives better? How can I help them? What can I do to be of service to the collective as a whole?
And I think that's, I was just going to say, like, it's a beautiful example, like, for anyone listening too, about just listening to yourself.
Yeah.
Like, you really did that. You faced a lot of trauma and hardship, but you went inwards and you actually said, okay, let me listen to what my body's telling me, because there's the other route that people take, and I would say probably I did the same thing, where you go to like, let's just shut it out, and like, any other means to kind of, but the answers actually lie within.
100%.
Listening to yourself is the true path to happiness.
Yeah,
like,
and not being afraid of,
because it's scary.
Yeah, it is. And especially, you and I are emotional authority.
Yeah.
And for so long, I think I was so afraid of what my emotions were trying to tell me that I was always numbing.
You shut it down. I did the same thing.
Yeah, because it's too much. Our emotions.
Or sometimes it's telling you what you don't want to hear.
Yeah.
Like if you're like, I want that, but everything about you is saying.
Well, you
that's
just, for me, the way I can put it into words, and you could probably were about to say the same thing, is like, you just feel like it's way too much to feel, so you just don't.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've learned is like, there's no way that happiness is ever going to be a possibility unless you do.
100%.
Like, you have to go through those feelings to get to a place where you're good.
It's so interesting, because I feel like the universe constantly teaches me this lesson over and over and over again. And even just most recently, like when my dad, was stuck in Palestine, he was in the West Bank, and we just didn't know how we could get him like home. And with all the atrocities that were happening, and it's so in your face, like,
you see
just
it
seeing
everywhere.
It's so traumatic, and it's a lot. And I do understand that it is a privilege to be able to turn it off and be like, I 100%. Can't deal with it. But at the same time, I can't be an advocate for the Palestinian cause. I can't represent what it means to be Palestinian if I am not taking care of myself. And I think that's one of the things of a lot of Palestinians in the diaspora feel, is the guilt. The guilt of not being there. And I have
splits you, I feel like, because you don't know which to give to, probably, right?
And it's just like, it's a lot. And it's like seeing people who look like and have the same blood as me that are like suffering so much, and nobody cares. It just does something to you. And I really did go, after just a few weeks ago, I just went into a really bad, dark place. And it was like realizing that I needed to have that pause. I needed to, take care of myself again in order to be able to be the advocate that I really want to be.
Beautiful,
and a huge mission that I have over my lifetime, I hope to accomplish, is I really want to create these Palestinian healing retreats, because I feel like there's so much intergenerational trauma.
Oh, that's beautiful. I know. That is literally you. Like our message. You're like the embodiment of that. Literally, like be yourself, to make to spread love, like to give back, and to make this world a better place. Literally.
But like something that hits so close to home for you. Like you've experienced that. And you're on the other side, and you want to kind of like be a like conduit to like bring 100%. People.
Because for me, being Palestinian, like I went to Palestine for the first time in 2008, and I was 19, and I like went there, and I really got to see how, because I have my grandma, and like my whole dad's side of the family still lives in the West Bank in a very small village. Shout out to Burka. But like it was just so interesting to see like my cousins, my flesh and blood, and we grew up so differently,
Absolutely.
And to be able to embrace my heritage, that makes me who I am, that today. But that resiliency, that feistiness,
Yeah,
that's all in my blood,
It's beautiful. Wow.
But yeah, that's just something that's really important to me, and I think that no matter what your background is, we can learn so much from the generations before us, and
I love that.
even though it's not something that maybe we're aware of, but it has something to really teach us. And I do really believe that we chose our parents for a reason.
100%.
Yeah.
Can we dive down that?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I think so, yeah.
No, well, there's so many things I want to say. Okay, we're going to get back to the parents, the choosing the parents. You said something interesting, and maybe it's like a bit more personal to me right now, but like, it's so interesting because ever since learning spirituality, you have all the answers, but there's still your dark times. Like even hearing, a few weeks ago when you fall into a place, and it's interesting because at least now I'm able to recognize that when I'm like misaligned or not being myself, not putting out good energy or whatever, because some days it's hard, whether it's the eclipse, things that are beyond us. But I just feel like this world is going through a lot of hurt right now. And so coming from such a, like, I feel like you're so wise in like more than us in all of this, like human design, like you have so many answers. What's just something you can say to like anyone if you're just going through something right now, no matter what it is? What are some of the like maybe self-care things that like anyone can do right now to just help?
Well, I think just overall, something that always helps me during those dark times is like the lower the lows, the higher my capacity for the highs. So like going out of that, like I have to say, seeing my dad when he came to the airport, it was the most joyous. Yeah, it was just like, that is joy. Like you get to feel something that you wouldn't have been able to feel. It's the contrast, that you're just like, this is the most amazing feeling. And it also, like, coming out of that, now I'm in a space where I'm like just enjoying the simple things. And you know what, I think you just realize like
it's ebb and flows.
It's the ebb and flow of life. It's just energy, and that's the way it goes. And for so long, I think when I've struggled with depression for a lot of my life, and I think what really sucked me down is like I was avoiding the depression, like I was avoiding the sadness, so it just sucked me down even more. But like realizing, it's the ebbs and flows of life, and that really like the contrast of that.
It's almost like going in, like leaning into it and opening yourself up to, okay, what is this trying to show me?
Well, so that was my next question, because again, maybe even a bit more personal, like with the lows, I feel like I just try to avoid those lows at all costs. And so if I do feel myself go into a low or whatever, I just try to jump out of it. But maybe something I'm trying to learn now is like, do you just dive into that? Like, obviously not for a prolonged period, but like feel all the feels or you know what I mean?
I said go, like, I think like when
feel it.
I think the biggest thing is like, look at what you're resisting the most, because oftentimes that will show us what we need to see the most, because we're always trying to like avoid our change, the big transformation. So being able to lean into that. But I think like having a deep relationship with yourself, through self-care, through taking care of yourself, through journaling, through, there's so many different modes of just tapping into, like having you probably have your best friends that you talk to every day. Do you talk to yourself every day? Like, do you check in with yourself? How are you?
It's just like that pause, I feel like, because we're all just so conditioned socially. Like you go to school, you go to work, you do all these things, you have kids, you have a partner, like everything is so focused, like in society too, it's all celebrated. You go here, you do this, whatever, but like no one ever teaches you at any point to sit, close all your doors, no matter where you live, who you're with, whatever, and just be with yourself.
Well,
that's needed.
100% it's needed. But also look at how society is, like, we have so many things pulling at our attention.
Marketing, like capitalism,
it's like our phones,
even
like,
just our phones.
Most people we're fully addicted to our phones.
Yeah.
Like, what's 100%. The longest you've gone without looking at your phone?
Well, I just have a realization even right now, like what marketing companies and all these things pay for and they work so hard for is a snippet of your attention. Meaning your attention is the most valuable thing.
Yeah, wow. Girl,
why not put that most valuable thing that you have on yourself?
Yeah. But it's like a muscle,
That's
right?
That's a really good point.
Yeah, that is really good.
It is like a muscle.
It feels unnatural because no one, and I'm just like having a realization right now, like no one, of course, society and whatever, like, maybe I'm getting too into the conspiracy aspect, but, like, they don't want you to do that because that's gonna, you know, impact all the sales and shit. But,
Because
like,
then you're not performing at your best, then you're not happy, then you're going to go to external material things to buy and
Yeah,
get more money.
but that's it. That's exactly it. It's like, you know, if you're not giving up that hot commodity, then you're worthless. And it's like,
Yeah.
what are you just gonna be a lump on the log? Just like, you know?
no, like that just clicked for
That's
me.
very interesting.
The I think the whole conclusion of all of this that, like, I would love to, like, almost to summarize what you're trying to say is, like, self-care, looking inwards at yourself and spending time with yourself
Yeah.
is where it
But
starts.
it's almost like connecting all those dots. It's like the biggest currency, the most valuable thing we can do for ourselves is infusing that energy back into ourselves.
Yourself, yeah. Again, the
Yeah.
answers are within.
Yeah.
And I think the last thing I'll say on that too is, like, a lot of times for me at least, like, there's this term that's often thrown around, selfishness. You're selfish, you're doing things for yourself, whatever, but that's not a negative thing.
It's not.
It's exactly what you said.
Yeah.
If you're not at your best, you can't help anyone.
No,
It's
you
not
can't
being
give
selfish, shutting maybe what's going on in the world off to take time for yourself. That is so you can give back and be your best version of yourself.
Well, I always say that boundaries are actually the foundation of self-care. And I don't know.
November!
Yeah, November!
I saw your
I
post.
don't know when this is going to be posted, but for November,
Sunday,
I'm
likely.
doing...
Probably
Okay,
Sunday,
nice.
yeah.
I'm doing November boundary challenge. So if you struggle with boundaries, you could definitely sign up. It's a free challenge. And it really is, like, boundaries have been my biggest, like, to be able to say no to things.
Yep. It's a form of self-care.
Yeah, it is. I'm a recovering people pleaser, so it's like,
There you go.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
but like coming from a place where it's like, I want to help people,
Yeah.
I want to do things, I
Yeah.
want to be able, like even doing this, like I want to be here right now.
Mhm.
Isn't that so much better than being like somebody who's like, oh, I felt
guess
kind
I'll
of
be there,
like,
yeah.
Obligated.
I felt obligated.
Yeah.
The energy is different,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, you'll never be
Yeah.
at your full capacity because your soul doesn't even want to be at that.
Yeah.
And life is only a series of being present in the present
Oh
moment.
my god.
You don't have
That's
the,
beautiful.
you know, like you
Yeah.
don't want to say yes to all these things and you miss out on the things that are really connected to your purpose.
Oh,
And being, you know, fully present in the moment and just like enjoying it. And like, again, you just feel that buzz. Right?
Yeah. Energized.
Yeah.
I'm sure we're all feeling that right now.
that's the
Like,
biggest thing is like I've learned, like assessing your energy as you go through life, and when you feel drained, when you feel energized, taking note of that and
Yeah.
trying to be more, especially with people. Like
Oh, yeah,
people, it's
100%.
like if you feel depleted after.
And recognizing our power is seeing like am I fully showing up in this
Yeah,
moment? Am
yeah.
I fully being present? Am I fully turned on? For a generator, that's big.
Yeah.
You know, like, you need to turn on that generator.
That is huge for
in many
us.
different ways. In all the ways.
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay. Well, you should probably wrap it
Well,
up.
no, I'm gonna do a quick time check. Well,
Yeah,
yeah, 8.
yeah.
But
Holy
before,
shit.
Yeah. Oh my
before-
god, that flew by.
There's so much energy buzzing in this room
So
right now.
there is.
like-
I don't want it to
Yeah.
end.
We're gonna have to go for another 2 hours.
So we're gonna
Yeah.
go into our human design, all of
Yes,
ours, and
I
learn
wanna
more
do that.
about that. Before we end off, just for episode 1, so Muse self-care.
Yes.
So
Muse
dive
self-care.
into that because we're also gonna let
Yeah.
them know where they can find that. So
I'm on
how did
Instagram.
that come to fruition?
So really Muse really came about because I was like thinking about all the things that really inspire me and how I wanted to be my own muse.
Mhm.
You know, it's
I
like
love it.
be inspired by yourself, and then of course the aspect of self-care, taking care of yourself on that
Beautiful.
deeper level, and all the aspects of that. That's
Just for
really,
context, that's Rowan's current business.
yeah, that's my business on
CEO.
Instagram.
CEO, yeah.
Oh,
So give her plug.
Yeah, you could definitely find me on Instagram at Muse Self Care. I'm also on TikTok, but
We'll
I'm
put
gonna-
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
we're working on that as well. You guys are my expanders.
Oh,
Get out there,
girl,
be seen.
we'll let you know tips and tricks, whatever
yeah,
you want.
hell yeah, I love that.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
But thank
That's
you so much.
beautiful.
I think like this is such a great opportunity. I think even right now in the world, like just being a Palestinian, showing up,
Showing
with-
up.
is,
Yeah.
is like the resilience.
Representation.
that-
Showing up with your full cup too, because
Yeah.
like you did the work, and that is something that you can share with fellow Palestinians and the rest of the world.
Yeah.
What it embodies to like actually do the self-care, and it
Yeah.
shows that
Yeah.
you're here to now be there for others and share your
Yeah.
beautiful story.
And I think
so much to learn
also,
from.
like with so much destruction and death, like I think a lot of people just see a number,
Yeah.
but like realizing like, you know, Palestinians, we're humans, we're
Resilient.
yeah, we're resilient, and right now there's like atrocities that are really happening, and we do need to, you know, email your MPs, do what you can, show up at a protest, donate where you can. We all have the power to really make a change and a shift of something that's been happening for 75 years, but I feel like now is the time to really change.
Yeah.
So
Oh
We
my
all
gosh.
have power.
Oh, before we wrap it up, because again, there's
Yeah.
part 2 coming, to Baby Ro,
mhm.
if you can give one piece of advice,
Yeah.
what would that be?
Oh my gosh. Honestly, the thing that comes to mind is just be yourself and not care what other people,
Yeah.
whoever rejects you, whoever doesn't, you know, fuck with you, like just, they're not for you. No,
Yeah.
just let it go.
Be
Yeah.
okay with
And
it.
Be yourself. Don't dim your light for anyone.
Ah,
Yeah.
That's for everyone out there.
Yeah.
I
don't-
love that
I
advice.
love that. You should be the third host on Metamorphosis.
Sister.
Sister.
Literally,
You already
like
are.
the embodiment
Soul
of a
sister.
butterfly. Like our little symbol is a butterfly. You are just the most beautiful butterfly.
Oh, you
Yeah.
guys are
Yeah.
so sweet. No, thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.
Okay, so that wraps up episode number 6 of the Metamorphosis podcast with Am, Noe, and our beautiful, beautiful butterfly, Rowan. Be yourself, do what makes you happy,
Spread love.
and morph into the real you! Thank you for watching! Cheers! Cheers! Oh,
Oh, she's gotta get you another one.
oh God, that's we have to do an episode 2. We barely scratched the surface.
I'm done.
Oh my God, third technical difficulty.